Hi everyone, I'm Sandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a tag for you, but it is really talking about big books, and so it's a pretty simple one. I'm very excited. If you watch my channel for any length of time, you may realize I definitely do not shy away from reading a big book, and I have a number of big books stacked here to show and kind of walk my way through. The tag is actually was an original tag that was created by One Book, One Review, and I'll leave that linked in the description below for you, but I was actually tagged by a fairly new to me channel called Stalking Kafka. I will leave her channel linked in the description below. You should absolutely go and check her out. I would love that. But yeah, I definitely like to read. I like to read some big books. So there's also apparently an Instagram challenge to read big books in 2023 that has some prompts. I will leave that linked in the description below for you as well. Yeah, lots of big books here. So the prompts for One Book, One Review for the original tag, the Big Books tag, is to select 5 of the longest books that you have read, and then 2 books that are on your TBR that are also long. I actually have 9 big books and 3 unread that I'll talk about. 3 kind of unread that I'll talk about. So, and whether or not I have any plans to read them in the near future. All right, the longest book, according to just physical page count on my versions of these books, which is what I went by with one exception. You'll see that kind of after that. The longest book that I have read is this bad boy, A Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth. This comes in at 1,474 pages. I read this last August with Fraser Simon at Springboard Thought and loved this book quite a bit. Was very, very surprised by it, but look at that. It is a big, big book. This is by far the longest book according to, was it the longest book according to Goodreads? But according to the physical pages, this is the longest book that I currently own and have read. All right. The next book that hits in that mark is going to end up being this one, The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. This is one of the first classics I ever read. This book comes in at 1,274 pages. It is clearly not the abridged edition, which I may have actually read the abridged edition, but I'm not entirely sure. I would like to reread this at some point. I read this one before starting my channel, but oh, yeah, it's another big one at 1,274 pages. The next one, according to the physical number of pages, is one I just finished. And it was for March of the Mammoths this year, and it was Les Misérables by Victor Hugo. This version comes in at 1,232 pages. I know other editions have this as longer than this. I can't wait to talk about this book. I will talk about it in an upcoming 1,001 book countdown video. I'm shaking because I want to talk about this book. But Les Misérables took the number 3 spot for number of pages. Number four and number of pages ended up being The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoyevsky. This was my 1,001 book club pick for December of last year at 1,016 pages. It's another big, chunky book, and this one wasn't as successful for me. I am very glad I read my first Dostoyevsky. I'm actually going to be reading Crime and Punishment in April, so that will be good. It's not nearly as long, at least the edition I have is not nearly this long, so I'm excited to pick up another Dostoyevsky. So that is this one. And for the number 5, to fulfill the prompt, the version I have is not that long. However, I did read this last year for March of the Mammoths. Depending on the version you have, your number of page count is significantly different, and it is War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Yeah, this was my book club pick for last March of the Mammoths in 2022. I still really love this beautiful edition. Such a beautiful cover. I did like this one, but the story, everything with it, parts of the story stuck with me, and then parts of it were kind of a slog to get through. I think out of all of the 5 that I have read, these big books that I've read, I think Count of Monte Cristo is still pretty up there at the top of my favorites, but I still love showing this one because it is just so pretty. And then look at the inside, the paper. Oh, it's just gorgeous. And those are the 5 biggest books according to page count. Now, however, I do have a few more. And I have a few more because when I was looking, these ones are all big. And I think, again, depending on the number of versions you have, could be hit in the same mix. The first one is going to be Don Quixote by Cervantes. I read this a number of years ago. I love this version of it. It's kind of a floppy paperback, but it's in the, this one comes in at the 800, 900 page mark. So didn't quite make it onto the cut as far as the biggest books that I own. The next one is going to be Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. This is in the 800 pages, I believe. Yeah, this is in the 800 page count, one of my favorite books from last year. I read this in September last year, so Lonesome Dove. And January of this year, I read Middlemarch by George Eliot. This particular version is again in the 800 page mark again. I didn't look it up specifically, but this is the next biggest one. And then the last one is going to be a Dickens novel of Bleak House. So I read this for Victober a couple of years ago and it was one of my very first Dickens novels. But why did I pick this big of one? Because someone was doing a read along and I, of course, have to participate. So those are my biggest books. Of course, I had to go beyond 5. I know the book tag said 5. The 2 books that I have to read. On the 1001 book list, there are some very long books as far as series go. Like the entire set of Marcel Proust books is on there. There's a 4-part series of The Three Kingdoms. The 6th book in a Trollope series is on there. So there's a number of series in there. So I'm kind of excluding those and trying to look at standalone or single novels. But the one I do want to call out, and I don't have plans to read this year, but I am going to show it because each one of these volumes is 800 pages and it is the Arabian Nights. So the 1001 Tales of 1001 Arabian Nights. I have volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. All 3 of these total about 2,400 pages. I haven't read these. I have a very beautiful version of the Arabian Nights, but I got this one because it has all of the stories in it. But when you look at all 3 of these together, I mean, yeah, that's a lot. So I don't have plans to read this one yet, but these are unread on my shelf for sure. And the next one that I do actually have reading plans for. This was my longest book to be read in 2023. I will be starting this in May with Fraser Simon, my big book buddy, it seems like sometimes, and hopefully Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads, because this one I'm going to need some help to make it through, and it is going to be The Man Without Qualities by Robert Musil. So yeah, this doesn't look bad when you look at this part. This book here is 700 pages, but there's 2 volumes and this one is 1,700 pages. Both of them together, 2,400 pages, and we are starting this in May. I have no idea how long this will take me. I've heard that if you can get through it, it's amazing. It's worth it. Yeah, this is, I think, the second longest. Like, if you look at all of the books on my 1001 countdown, these 2 make up the second or the third longest overall. It is certainly the longest kind of book volume set that I'm planning on reading this year. Well, I mean, yeah, it's wow. And then the last book that I will mention as far as one of the biggest books I have that is unread, this one, It by Stephen King. This is 1,100 pages. I don't have any plans to read this one anytime soon as well. It's not on obviously my 1001 book list, and I haven't come across necessarily a read along or anything like that that has prompted me to pick it up. I would like to read it. I mean, I bought it for a reason because I would like to read it, but it has been languishing on my shelf for a moment or two, a few moments. But yeah, look at that. It's so big. I have read The Stand, but I don't own a copy. So yeah, those are the biggest books that I have that I own that are on my TBR. Which of these have you read? Have you read any of them? Do you have a favorite among them? I'm curious. As far as tagging people, I'm going to tag Sue Jackson because she runs every summer the Big Book Summer Reading Challenge, which focuses on reading big books. So I definitely will tag tag her, and I will also tag Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse, who is one of the ones who actually is running March of the Mammoth. So I know that he also likes big books. I'm curious. I'd love to see. I think in addition to that, I will tag his lovely wife, Kelly, over at Books I'm Not Reading, because I know she also has some big books, because she also just recently read Les Misérables. So very excited to see what books you have on your shelves. But yeah, this is an older tag from 2013, so it's possible that some of these people have already done it. But I do like big books, cannot lie. So I'm curious what books you have. Please leave me a comment down below letting me know what is the longest book you have on your shelf right now, read or unread. I'd love to hear that. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks, bye.